TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That in all of us. Check out the Pro Shop. That's right, the Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember, it helps the platform continue to grow. Check out the Pro Shop and Who That too.
Who that say they gon' beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that say they gon' beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that say they gon' beat them Saints? Who that?
Yeah. Well, all right. Like you always say, welcome, welcome, welcome. Number one sports talking D. We ain't like the Falcons, we won't blow the lead. Look, all we talk is who that, who got cut and who back. Rookies in the vets, players you should look at. It's the sports coma, you don't wanna miss it. Got the pre-game, party, post-game statistics. Get a visit from Sway, maybe DC or 5. It's the hottest thing smoking, Big Q and the guys. Go to YouTube Live, make sure you subscribe. Interviews inside the Saints locker room high. Talk to Drew, Jordan, Zach, Peyton, New Orleans, Who That Nation. Best believe when I say we bleed gold and black. Ain't a miracle or rivalry could ever hold us back. No, Beastquake, Bounty Gate, let the truth be told. It's the sports coma, all we know is say Super Bowl. Yeah.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Who that? To the Black and Gold family. We in this thing, Monday edition, Sports Coma. Don't close no Jarvis Landry to the Browns. We in the building. Much love to the great Saint Think Tank. And I'd like to welcome in a very special guest to the stream. A very special guest indeed. This brother here is a really intelligent brother. I carry and cover a lot of his articles right here on the show all the time. We got Ross Jackson in the building. Brother Ross, man, welcome to the stream, bro. How you doing?
Hey, my brother. Very, very grateful to be here with you, man. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm loving it. I'm watching the YouTube comments. I'm seeing so many of the homies and everybody too. I'm seeing Hoodie. I'm seeing Tori. I'm seeing
I told you.
It's so dope. I love seeing it, man. I'm seeing the homies come through, man. This is great. No, man, I appreciate you so much for having me, man. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be fun.
Well, everybody know Ross, man. Everybody know Ross. I mean, the brother has been putting in work, man. He's I would say probably the top contributor on Locked In on Saints. Always have really positive insight and good analysis on the team.
Thank you.
And you know, and to be honest with you, Ross, I got my favorite, bro, of out there that's doing it, and some I'm not too favorite about. You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it like that. But you're one of the dudes, man, that really tell it like it is, bro. Love what you're doing, bro, and we'll give you a shout out to your contribution to the Who That Nation. Much love, bro.
Man, hey, look, it's an absolute pleasure. We were kind of talking before you and I went live here about like my background, and I'm born and raised from New Orleans, and so to be able to have something like this where I get to give back to my community and get to take part and be connected to so many people from that community, especially after being displaced back in with Katrina and everything like that, like being able to kind of have that reach back to the community and everything has been nothing less than invaluable, right? Like priceless, whatever you want to call it and everything. Right. So I'm just so honored to be able to do what I do, and then to have opportunities like this, like to be able to connect with people that are doing it as well and everything. So I mean, y'all are doing it big. I'm trying to do it big. We're out here doing it big. We're all trying to eat. You know what I'm saying? And so I just love the support, man. I love the love. So I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, Ross, no problem, bro. Ross is in the building, man. We're going to be talking about Black and Gold today. I won't hold the brother for very long. I know he got something else to do behind here. But Ross, we're gonna be covering a few things, man. And
Mhm.
and one of the things I wanted to start off with, and I know I mentioned it to you, was this article right here from what is this from Pro Football Talk NBC right here. And they
Mhm.
were basically writing an article based on what Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland, what was it, Cleveland.com,
Mhm.
reported that the door is closed on Jarvis Landry. And according to the article that they wrote, after Landry was released by the Browns in March, there was word that the team was interested in bringing him back on a different contract. The lack of a new deal over the last couple of months was a strong suggestion that conversations about such a deal were not fruitful, and there's now a report confirming that thought. Now, Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com reports the door is closed on Landry. And of course, it goes into the tweet that she put out. And the Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski said the team feels good about its receiver room after drafting David Bell in the third
Mhm.
round, Michael Woods in the sixth, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples Jones sit atop the depth chart in Cleveland. So the original report thought process was that it would be either Cleveland or the Saints with this
Mhm.
development. What is your thought on it?
Yeah, look, I think that, there were some early indications. I think it was April 20th is when the report came out with Ian Rappaport kind of talking about it. Kind of looks like it's between the Saints and the Browns, and in whichever way that this could all go. And then, as you mentioned, the Browns drafted David Bell, who can play outside, showed a lot of that ability to be able to do that at Purdue, but is somebody that can also play inside. So it kind of makes Jarvis Landry, quote unquote, expendable, is basically what the account was saying.
Right.
And so if that's the case, then that seems to be pretty indicative of the fact that he won't be going back to Cleveland. Now, I would expect a couple of other teams to get into the mix. The Baltimore Ravens should very obviously be in the mix, maybe even the Tennessee Titans, who traded away A.J. Brown. Yes, they drafted Tre'Quan Burks. They created a need and had to fill it, but you kind of want to get a veteran guy in that room as well, especially with Adam Humphries and everything kind of being that mold that they really like.
Right.
Jarvis Landry kind of fills a similar pattern, and so I would see a couple of other teams that would easily kind of get into the mix there. I believe he also had an early visit with the Atlanta Falcons, if I remember correctly, so that would be something to watch too. But the only other team that he's really visited with has been the New Orleans Saints. And
Right.
at that time, it didn't seem like there were any contract talks or anything like that. It seemed to be just a little bit more like getting acquainted, getting to know each other. Could there be a fit there kind of thing? I mean, I know we've seen some other extraneous reports about contract talks, quote unquote, reopening when there really weren't contract talks in the first place. It was more so just about getting to know each other, getting acquainted. Now there's real potential for the Saints to be able to make maybe a stronger pursuit of Jarvis Landry, knowing that Cleveland seems to be out of the conversation there. But don't be surprised if other teams get involved. 4 or 5 other teams around the NFL are going to be looking for wide receivers. Even a team like the Indianapolis Colts could use his help, right? So there's a lot of opportunity there for other teams to get involved. But if the Saints are able to act pretty quickly on all of this, that it could put them in position to be able to get all of this, done.
Right. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, who wouldn't want a veteran coming in at the caliber of Jarvis Landry? Now, most certainly a lot of people say Q, he don't have the speed, but man, he catches everything, Ross. I mean,
Right.
everything you throw to him, he catches. And last season, he had 55 grabs last year. That was more than any Saint wide receiver.
Right.
So I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, he would be an asset to our wide receiver room. But let me ask you this, Ross: if Jarvis is not the guy, who would you suggest? Give me 2 guys you think that could be close to. If Jarvis is not the guy, veteran wide receiver that you would like, would you like a guy like D.D. Westbrook or somebody like that? Tell me what you think, bro.
Yeah, there could be some of those guys that are out there. I mean, there are a few that you could probably go out and pursue and maybe try to get a little bit of a look at. Pulling up my little list real quick. I mean, what you're really looking for is probably somebody that can operate out of the slot more than anything else. So like a Keelan Cole would make sense.
Yeah, I
Maybe
like
even
him.
Yeah, maybe even a reunion with Emmanuel Sanders. There's actually a couple of reunions out there that could still happen. Emmanuel Sanders, Latavius Murray, if they decide to continue to pursue a running back. Even Adam Humphries, who I mentioned before, who was on the Tennessee Titans last year. The Saints had pursued a few years ago in free agency, right? And then, he's not necessarily the player he was then now, but when you're talking about finding a guy in the slot that can simply be, as you mentioned, a guy with good hands, that's really all that you're looking for. And you don't need somebody that's really going to go out there and try to take the top off of a defense. You've got that guy now, like Chris Olave's in the building, you're Gucci, like that's all taken care of. And then you got Michael Thomas ready to come back in 2022, who should be able to be a little bit more of a 3-level threat with Jameis Winston behind center. So I think that puts you in a pretty good position to where you can go out, you could find another one of those veteran guys. But at the same time, if you roll out a wide receiver group of Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, and then Deontay Hardy
Right.
in the slot, or Marquez Callaway playing a big slot role every now and then. I'm really not mad at that either. I think that the Saints really just needed sort of that top end field stretching complement to Michael Thomas in addition to getting Michael Thomas back. Getting Michael Thomas back is great, but you needed something else. I think you have that in Chris Olave. And so if the Saints move forward with what they have in the building right now, this is a situation where I wouldn't be mad to hear, oh, we like who we have in the building, right? But you could still go out there and look for some of those veterans that are out there as well that are going to be cheaper.
Right, you're right, Ross, because every year the Saints do that, bro. They'll bring in these veterans, man, whether wide receivers, running back. Remember Coleman was a guy they brought in last year as a running back to kind of steady the room veteran-wise. Saints tend to do that. I know we're going to talk about the draft today, fam. We got Ross Jackson, man, chiming in, locked in on Saints podcast. Y'all know the man. You know who this is. But much love to the fam. But yeah, bro, let me ask you this, Ross, before we move into the draft chatter, man. Tre'Quan Smith. Okay, Tre'Quan Smith is back with the team. A lot of the Who Dat Nation not really excited about Tre'Quan Smith. What do you think his impact will be on the wide receiver room, bro?
Oh, I think it'll be pretty minimal, honestly. I really do. And that's not
That's
like
a good way of putting it, Ross, just to let you know, bro.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good way of putting it. I put it a lot worse than that. But
well, I mean,
I'll use your word, bro. I'm gonna use your word.
It's minimal, right? Like, he's not going to be a guy that you're expected to go out there and like compete with Michael Thomas or compete with Chris Olave to be out there or anything like that. He could be somebody that goes out there and maybe competes a little bit in sort of that rotation of the bottom three wide receivers of Deontay Hardy, Marquez Callaway, and Tre'Quan Smith, and really probably more immediately with Marquez Callaway, because Deontay Hardy has such a specific role at this point that you're not really gonna apples to oranges between those two receivers. And so I think you look at Tre'Quan Smith, who was brought back on a 2-year, $6 million contract with $2 million guaranteed. So basically his signing bonus guaranteed. It's a 1-year, $2 million deal effectively. And so with that being the case, you look at Tre'Quan Smith as somebody that maybe goes out there situationally. They like to use him in line the same way you would use another tight end. They like to use him in the slot as a blocker. They like to use him on the perimeter as a blocker. So he's somebody that's going to be able to help contribute in the run game, but then can also go out there and make you some tough catches on third down if you need him to be another option over the middle of the field, because he's very physical. He's one of those guys that can make those tough catches and everything like that, but he's not going to be somebody that you're going to rely on. That's why you bring him back on a 2-year, $6 million contract, a minimal hit for a minimal impact in terms of what you're getting with the player.
Well said, Ross. And the reality, too, is that second year is more like an option year for the Saints. If they don't like what they want, they can always kind of opt out of that thing. So that's the great Mickey Loomis doing this thing, man, digging in. But yeah, I agree with you, Ross. I don't anticipate him. I mean, the thrill is gone, right? On
the thrill is gone.
Right. It's a third round pick some time ago. And we had all these hopes because Coach Payton at one time envisioned him and Michael Thomas being the combo to take us into the future. Boy, that was the interesting
thing, right? He was supposed to be the other guy on the outside, and instead he ended up being the slot receiver. And so he had to learn a whole new position, a whole new level of the playbook, everything, and never really played the role, which was originally the deep threat. Remember, he averaged like 19.8 yards per catch in his year at UCF that effectively made him draftable as a 1,000-yard receiver. And so you look at what the role was that he was drafted to play. He's never played that role. First of all, he never got the opportunity to do it. Ted Ginn Jr. was also brought in. He was the veteran wide receiver that was the deep threat. He came in and had like a 73% catch percentage out of nowhere after never doing that in his entire career ever in 2017, 2018, whenever that was. And then 2018. And then you saw what you had to do with Tre'Quan Smith was effectively relegate him to the slot and teach him a new position. And it just never really panned out for him because he had to learn a new playbook. And then when they started to use him outside, which really wasn't until over the last couple of years, you had Drew Brees, who wasn't really pushing the ball downfield. So you weren't using him as a downfield threat, which is effectively what he was drafted for, was to be a Z flanker, right? They were playing a more condensed style of offense. So that was a whole new playbook that he had to learn. So it just never really panned out for him in terms of what they drafted him for, what he was used to do, and then what he was able to impact, right? The impact he was able to have in that offense. It just, the fit wasn't really there. So, but he's a good blocker and he's somebody that can contribute to you in the run game.
Bro, yeah, that's well said, because you think about Tre'Quan Smith and you go back to his college footage at, was it Central Florida? He was absolutely a beast in
Mhm.
terms of catching the deep ball. And of
Yeah.
course, when he came to New Orleans, Coach Payton says, "Hey, we like what you can do in terms of being a deep receiver, but I want you to play a little bit inside."
Right.
Which you right, what you said that he wasn't used to. So you see Tre'Quan not having that. I ain't gonna say the man didn't have that heart, but he did. He wasn't willing to go in there amongst the hitters there. And I remember he got knocked upside the head, got his helmet knocked up,
Yeah, a
and
couple of
he
big ones.
right, and he learned and he got
Yeah.
better. But I think that the timer kind of just ran out on Tre'Quan
Yeah.
Smith in terms of what we expect of him. But
Mhm.
let's go into the draft conversation here right quick, brother Ross. Hold on, Hoodie says Hoodie says
Hoodie!
big Q Ross Jackson. Since Sony Michelle went to Miami today, then maybe that's a sign of us getting closer to getting Jarvis now. Just a thought. Any free agent running back, y'all like to look at maybe Philip Lindsay. What you think about this, Ross? Thank you, Hoodie, for your super chat, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Yo. Okay, so the first point there, I'll be honest, I don't think that signing Sony Michel would have been the thing that would have gotten in the way of signing Jarvis Landry. The Saints had about $19 million plus of salary cap before they signed Tyrann Mathieu.
Right.
Tyrann Mathieu's on a three-year, $11 million
yes.
per year
Right.
deal, but it doesn't mean that he's going to have an $11 million cap this year.
Ross, now Mickey.
He's going to keep it low.
That's
that
right.
first year is going to be low. You know that
That's
for sure.
right.
Especially
That's
with
right.
only $18 million guaranteed, there's no reason to push the buck this year. So they'll, that will probably come in. And let's say that the Saints with that, and then probably around $5 million for their draft class have, I don't know, $11 to $13 million left in the salary cap, right? Let's say that they're around that area. There would have been nothing stopping the New Orleans Saints from signing Sony Michel, who I imagine is going to be a pretty low hit contract, a 1 year, probably $3-4 million type of deal to Miami, and then signing Jarvis Landry to where even if they would have signed it to a multi-year deal, again, you keep the first year hit low. He's not going to command $20 million per year just because he's a wide receiver, especially not at this point in the offseason. So I don't necessarily think that signing Sony Michel would have made the Saints incapable of also signing Jarvis Landry, but I do think Jarvis Landry is now the name you turn your attention to in terms of free agents that the Saints could still sign. In terms of veteran free agent running backs, keep an eye out on. I love the idea of Philip Lindsay. Honestly, I'm surprised he hasn't signed anywhere yet. I'd probably throw Malcolm Brown out there, and I would probably not rule out a reunion with either Latavius Murray or Devontae Freeman, honestly, either one of those guys, just because they're familiar with them. And this is what the Saints like to do. You mentioned that they always bring in those veteran running backs in camp. They brought in Mike Gillislee a couple years ago and all that. Like, that's just what they do. So any of these veteran running backs that you see them bring in, though, they're not immediate roster locks. We've seen that over and over and over again. Sometimes they come in, they help out over the course of the offseason and training camp, and then sayonara, we have the guys that we like.
They'll put the scissors to him real quick there, Ross. You're absolutely right. But Philip Lindsay, that was a guy that was mentioned before. I do like the Latavius Murray call right there, Ross, to kind of go back him and at the right price. I mean, when Coach Payton didn't like his cost, he wanted to cut him down. But we kind of we underutilized Latavius in my estimation on there as well. So let's move into the draft, bro. Fantastic picks, a very solid draft in my estimation of what happened with the Saints. They went in there, bro, with a plan. They didn't get distracted by a quarterback. They went in there and got what they needed. Ross, tell me what you think about the Saints draft and who some of the players that you like, bro.
Well, I mean, everyone and their mama knows I'm very happy about the Chris Olave selection. I've been talking about Chris Olave to the Saints since he was supposed to come out last year as a potential first-round selection for them. So I'll tell you a little story. So we were doing our 3 days of live NFL draft coverage with Locked On. And I was in studio in Dallas where we were doing the show. I was producing the show, but then I was also running downstairs to be the Saints analyst when the Saints selected and all this other stuff. So I talked to everybody before the show. It's like Isaiah Stanback and Eric Crocker, who are former NFL guys, Peter Bukowski and Ryan Tracy, some of our lead NFL talent, and Kai Stevens, who is like our main anchor on the network. And we were all kind of talking about, okay, what's the Saints plan? And everyone around me was saying, look, the Saints should be going after a quarterback this offseason and stuff like Jameis. Is Jameis really the guy? Like all these questions and whatever. And I kept saying, no, they're not really interested in this quarterback class. They didn't maximize and give themselves 2 selections just to ruin the value of them by trading up into the top 5 into a bad quarterback class. And as you can see now, trading up into the top 5 for a quarterback would have been a terrible idea because it was the first time since the year 2000, only one quarterback went in the top 40 selections of the NFL draft. Yes, so that would have been a bad choice, right? So I kept saying wide receiver, offensive tackle. Those are the two positions you expect them to leave for. And it was like, no, it's going to be quarterback. I was like, okay, we'll see. So then the Saints, I'm up in the control room. Drake London goes to the Falcons. Garrett Wilson goes to the Jets. And then I see the Saints pop up on the board at 11. And I'm getting text messages. They're moving up from Malik, not from like people in the know, right? Just like, friends and stuff like that. Like, oh, they're moving up from Malik, blah, blah. And then so I run downstairs and I know at this point they're moving for Chris Olave. I knew that the Saints loved Chris Olave and that was a target guy for them going into this draft. So when I saw the 2 wide receivers go off the board and then them trade up, that tells you everything you need to know right there. They were going after the quarterback. They were getting in on the run of the quarterback. They expected a run there between 8 to 13. They were exactly right. They were able to move up and get their guy. So I'm standing there over on the side, and then I get to do my Vince McMahon, millionaire man walk, right, onto the set to be like, it's a wide receiver, y'all. It's Chris Olave. Like, I was just super happy about it. So that's my anecdote. Like, I was super excited about the Chris Olave selection. I think he's a perfect fit for this New Orleans Saints offense. Right now, he's the Bet Online's leader right now when it comes to offensive rookie of the year. I thought Trevor Penning was a great selection. The two sort of pairs of either Chris Olave and Charles Cross or Chris Olave and Trevor Penning were the wide receiver, offensive tackle sort of duo that I expected in the first round. It's exactly what we got with Penning and Olave. The Alontae Taylor selection was a bit of a surprise. I had Alontae Taylor as a sleeper for me in the 4th or 5th round. But then when they traded away their 3rd and 4th round selections to be able to move up to go and get Chris Olave, they weren't going to wait around for a guy that they liked. So then they just select him at the bottom of the 2nd round. I think they might have wanted Jaquan Brisker to just fall one more spot.
Yes, that's the feeling I got too, Ross. I thought Brisker was the guy.
Yeah, I think so too. But obviously it all worked out because then they just turned around and signed Tyrann Mathieu to play a very similar role. He's not as long. It doesn't have the necessarily the length of a Jaquan Brisker, but he's going to be able to be impactful in those underneath zones anyway. He's a playmaker, so it's a fantastic signing. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. And the Jackson brothers, no relation. DeMarco Jackson and Jordan Jackson. I like those picks in the 5th and 6th rounds. I think those are guys that come in and immediately kind of help you out on defense while majority playing a special teams role. I like Alontae Taylor a lot. I think that with Dennis Allen being a defensive coordinator and a defensive head coach, as well as a secondary guy, that this is going to be what he's going to do a lot, right? He's going to develop and create competition to help make these secondary players better and better every year. So I like a lot what the Saints did in the draft this year.
Yeah, they were, in my book, a lot of people didn't like the fact that the Saints used the 3rd and 4th round selection and the 1st to move up to go and get Chris Olave. But in my estimation, I knew eventually they did that because they knew guys were going to go and get
That's exactly right. Yeah,
that's
that's the biggest impact position that they needed on offense without having a need at quarterback, which, as Dennis Allen told everybody after the draft, they didn't feel like quarterback was the position that they needed to address. So it was the next big impact position that they needed to address. It was wide receiver all the way.
Yes.
And then if you can go and get somebody that already has a connection with your star receiver, Michael Thomas and Chris Olave, I talked to Chris Olave at the combine and asked him about his relationship with Michael Thomas. They've been connected for a while. And he's like, Michael Thomas is a role model of mine. And I would love to be able to play opposite him. And the last time that the guy played in the Superdome, he had 132 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns and everything. So they put him on the turf, let him have fun. And so, when you have an opportunity to move up and get that done, and I saw somebody, I think it was, it doesn't matter. But anyway, I saw somebody talk about like, oh, the Saints could have traded for AJ Brown and drafted all these people. Get out of here. That's not how the draft works. Like, that's not how it works. And so I just think that, I think it's one of those situations where you're either going to crucify the Saints for not building up their offense, or you're going to crucify the Saints because they spit too much for building the offense. No matter what, you're going to criticize whatever it is. So just criticize and get out of my way, because it was the right thing for the Saints to do to make sure that they could get up and make the move that they needed to make to be able to address the position that they really needed to address this offseason.
Yeah, it wasn't a secret. The wide receiver position was something that they needed to tool up, bro. They definitely needed to do that. And the draft was fine. You're getting the offensive tackle you mentioned, kind of reminiscent of Kyle Turley, the way the guy plays. It's going to be something all interesting. And Chris Olave, I love the guy. I mean, if you think about, like you mentioned, the relationship between him and Michael Thomas, a lot of people say, well, Mike helped facilitate this deal because of the relationship that Dennis Allen was trying to connect with Mike when he went to meet him. And this is truth behind this. I could see that. So, I mean, in essence, do you want harmony in your room or disharmony?
Right. I mean, no, that's a great point. And I think that like Chris Olave is the perfect personality to put next to an alpha wide receiver one, because Chris Olave, let's be real, has never been the number one option at Ohio State. He was always opposite Garrett Wilson. He had Jackson Smith and Jigba there last year. Like this guy has always known how to play within a unit. He has always done that. And I think that even with the first round draft status, that will still be very true for him as somebody that's going to be able to come in and understand his role to have an immediate impact, but also know how to complement the guys around him and the talent around him. And he's got enormous talent all around him with guys like Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and Jameis Winston and even Deontay Hardy. Like some of these guys are good players that are all around him. And so he's going to have a really good understanding of how to come in and operate as a unit with the rest of this offense.
Oh, absolutely. I agree totally. And then, of course, you sprinkle a little Taysom in there, Ross.
Every now and then.
Yeah, there you go.
Get him involved as a receiver.
There you go. I mean, it's the thing. They asked me a lot about Taysom Hill here, fam. We thinking about Taysom Hill as a tight end. I said, bro, he'll be fine. I mean, as long as you leave him out of the quarterback situation, I think we will be fine with that. So they'll be happy. Okay, bro, let's talk about, we mentioned Tyrann Mathieu. That was a terrific signing by the Saints after the draft. It kind of lit up everything. Terrific signing by the Black and Gold to pinpoint on their guy, go and get him. Thoughts on him, Ross? What you think about his impact to the team coming up?
Oh, I think it just brings you so much. It just brings so much to this team. He has an on-field impact. He'll have a locker room impact. He'll have an off-the-field impact. He'll have an impact away from the organization as well as within the organization, all that. This guy already broke the NFL website at one point. Yeah, you're showing it right now. He crashed the NFL website because everyone swarmed to go and buy his jersey. It's been a while since there's been a jersey seller that is a new arrival in New Orleans, right? Like you had Drew Brees, who was a long stay there, but then they haven't really had that guy that was like a newcomer that came in and immediately sold jerseys. Like Michael Thomas did it, and really you haven't, and Alvin Kamara did it, and then really you haven't had anybody since then. And so Tyrann Mathieu is going to come in and he's immediately going to sell jerseys. Nobody cares what number he's going to have. Like everybody just wants Mathieu on a black and gold jersey.
That's right.
Because the next time that Tyrann Mathieu takes an NFL's field, he will be a New Orleans Saint. And that's a pretty remarkable thing to consider. And so he's going to be somebody that's going to be able to come in and be a leader. He's going to be able to be somebody that's going to be able to come in and be a communicator. He's going to immediately replace the impact that Malcolm Jenkins had in those areas of the field. It's big when you have to change out both safeties. You're going to have a position battle at cornerback next season or over the course of the offseason as well between Alontae Taylor and Paulson Adebo. Maybe Bradley Roby gets involved there too, but I doubt it. And so you're going to have some changeover in the secondary. So you need somebody that's going to be able to be the quarterback of that secondary. You've got Demario Davis to take care of the front seven, but you need somebody in the back end that's going to be able to make all those calls and make those adjustments on the fly and, shout out coverages and let you know this person's coming, whatever. So he does all of that, and he's going to bring all that, and he processes at a very high speed. He always has. That's why he was a fantastic punt returner, because he can process what's happening in front of him. And so him being a little bit away from the line of scrimmage is something that is going to fit. But then him getting involved in the run game as a run supporter in the box, that's something he's going to be able to do as well. His impact on the community is going to be fantastic. And then you pair him up and combine him now with guys like Malcolm Jenkins, who will very likely continue to do work within the community. Demario Davis, who has literally changed legislation in the state of Louisiana. Cam Jordan, who has made a massive impact. And then so now he gets an opportunity to work with those guys in terms of widening his impact within the city and within the state as well.
Absolutely. Well said. Ross said the community impact is big, especially a big shout out to Cam Jordan with his initiatives between the community and the police. I mean, putting his money in his mouth, and his work there. So Cam is pretty special. And you mentioned Demario, man, is a man of faith and a lot of stuff that these guys doing off the field. They really don't have to do this, but it's just showing you how great a person. These are great people, that's participating on the team. We're just so fortunate and blessed to have some of these players like this, as opposed to some of these other selfish guys that be out here just caring about themselves. We love what we got.
Yeah, look at Ryan Tannehill just this past week, right?
Awful, Ross.
The highest paid, like the highest cap hit amongst any quarterback this offseason or whatever, right? Like he's one of the most expensive players in the field, and he's talking about, oh well, I'm not, mentoring the new guy or whatever. Like how many people Drew Brees mentored in and out of that building every single year? All the way back from like Mark Brunell, Jake, not Jake, excuse me, Luke McCown, all those guys, all the way up through Chase Daniel and so on and so forth, Jameis, Taysom, Teddy, like he did it, no questions asked. Like that's the type of attitude you get with Tyrann Mathieu as well.
Yeah, that was awful. And I seen the response by CD Deuce when he made.
He said, "I hope he takes your job."
That's terrible. But see,
That
that's
was
wrong
ruthless.
for. But you see, it's a team game. What part of that? You know,
Right.
you got the money, you have the position, and if anything, you got to look at him as a person you bring along. It only empowers you, make you better. You would want
Right.
somebody to do that for you, Tannehill. So,
Mhm.
you know, I'm with CD on this one, man. That ain't my team, but I sure hope he take his job. I ain't gonna tell you no difference. But Ross, let's go. That's great, bro. Let's kind of cycle back to the undrafted thing, man.
Mhm.
We how many was it? 17 undrafted
17.
guys the Saints brought in, and we tried out a couple of guys. Who do you like, bro? I mean, there's a lot to choose for. Give me a couple of guys from the undrafted ranks you think make an impact on the black and gold team this year.
Yeah, I'll jump into a couple of the popular names first. Smoke Monday, of course, like immediately endeared himself to Saints fans, wearing a Drew Brees jersey and then screaming at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, saying, putting himself on the roster already. Y'all got to see me twice a year now. All this great stuff. So I think obviously he's somebody that can carve out a role as whether it be a special teamer or potentially getting into the rotation at safety. Even if he ends up on the practice squad, he, like Bryce Thompson last year, could still end up seeing reps. And that's exactly what happened with Bryce Thompson, undrafted free agent safety out of Tennessee. So he's somebody that is he was probably the hardest hitter in this year's draft class, particularly amongst the secondary, but I would kind of put him up against anybody on defense in terms of that. So
I was kind of surprised Ross he didn't get drafted, bro.
Yeah, me too. I thought he was going to be. And the other guy that I'll mention, Abram Smith, the running back out of Baylor, same thing.
Yeah.
I expected he was going to get drafted as well. He's somebody that, but the interesting thing about him is that he played linebacker. They had to move him to linebacker in Baylor back in 2019. And then he never moved back to running back until 2021. And then he went off for 257 carries and like 1,600 plus yards and 12 rushing touchdowns. Yeah.
Wow.
He was incredible, right? Like you just, and yes, it's a weak Big 12 defense. That's why Big 12 defenders don't get drafted highly. And so I understand that, but still, like, to be away from the position for that long, to have been moved to linebacker and then to have that
impact.
Immediately, right? Like moving back to the position, like that's impressive to be able to do that.
Yes.
And if you're looking for somebody that's going to be able to come in, and I would say his most direct competition would be Dwayne Washington, who has been a staple for the New Orleans Saints, particularly as an RB3, but also as a special teamer. Abram Smith, somebody that understands how to, follow blockers, understands how holes open up, and has played linebacker in his past, is going to be a great special teamer in terms of punt and kick coverage. So he's going to immediately challenge Dwayne Washington for that same spot. So I would put him up there as well. Dejon Dixon out of Nichols is another one to watch. He could be like, remember a few years ago, Emmanuel Butler?
Yes.
He came and he lit up training camp, and everyone was so excited about him and everything. And it just didn't work out. It just didn't pan out.
Fizzled, bro.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised for Dejon Dixon to be the first half of Emmanuel Sanders again. I don't know if he's going to, Emmanuel Butler again. I don't know if he's going to be somebody that's going to fizzle out, but he's going to be somebody that's probably going to make some plays during training camp. Like, he'll be the training camp darling. He's my early shout out there. And I really like Rashid Shaheed too, the wide receiver / kick returner from Weber State, actually in Utah, funny enough. The thing that's interesting about him is that he, is one of those guys that I think he's like third in school history and all-purpose yards, leads school history in terms of punt return yards and all this other crazy stuff. So it'd be interesting to see, like, if the Saints want to get Deontay Hardy more involved on offense, could that mean throttling him back a little bit on special teams? And a guy like Rashid Shaheed would allow them to be able to do that if he's able to transition. I think he averaged like 29.7 yards per kick return.
Like that. Yeah, I know it was over 29. That's ridiculous, bro.
Insane numbers. And then just to give a shout out to the HBCU talent that's coming in too, because these guys aren't UDFAs that signed, but they got mini camp invites. D. Anderson, who has a lot of Louisiana history, used to be with the LSU Tigers, coming in from Alabama A&M. You've also got CJ Holmes, who's going to be coming in from Jackson State, and then Kylan Ritchie, another Jackson State player to watch. So a couple of guys that you aren't going to find on the UDFA list, but these guys are getting rookie mini camp invitations for later on this week, and just some names to know.
Well, that's I absolutely love the undrafted guys. What popped out to me, Brother Ross, on the undrafted guys, a lot of college experience, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of games played with a lot of these guys, and I can see what the Saints are looking at. And we kind of know what kind of guy Jeff Ireland is in terms of what he does. We've been like the number one destination, it seems like, for undrafted talent for some time now. A lot of our rosters constructed with undrafted guys, chip on his shoulder players, as I call them, that come in here and know that if they can play, that they'll earn valuable playing time on the side. I mean, we turn these undrafted guys into Pro Bowlers, JT Gray,
Mhm.
Deontay Harris-Hardy. I mean, impactful guys too. So that I just love the undrafted guys. Brother Ross, let's kind of forecast a little bit. I want you to
Mhm.
peer into your crystal ball, my friend, and look down the line. And let's talk about what the Saints look like. We know we got Jameis coming back from injury. We got Chris Olave there and a few other people they're going to bring in. Peer down there and tell me what you see in terms of. I know you see the defenses, what they can be in terms of probably one of the best that we've ever seen. I mean, Marcus May and the Honey
Mhm.
Badger and all the guys, CD Deuce, and even PJ Williams back and how he
Right.
played, and all of the terrific coaches, Coach Rashard, Ryan Nielsen, what they can do on defense. But let's just look at the offense for a second, and you can feel free to go everywhere you want after that. But
Mhm.
let's start with the offense. What do you see this year from the black and gold and what they can do, bro, going into the season?
Well, I'll tell you what I don't see is a 32nd ranked passing attack for a second year in a
Okay.
row.
Okay.
I
Well,
will
that's
tell
a
you that
relief.
much. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that some of that, honestly, like
Mhm.
the talent that's been added is great. Getting Michael Thomas back. I love the way that Dennis Allen kind of talked about it, was that it feels like they got 2 first-round picks at wide receiver because they got Chris Olave in the draft, but then they
Yeah,
got
and
Michael
Mike
Thomas
Thomas.
coming back.
Right.
And so I think that's like a really good way to look at it. They could still use some help in sort of just figuring out what the tight end room is going to look like who's tight end 1 in this situation. I imagine probably either Nick Vanette or Adam Troutman. But what's the real expectation for those guys to impact your game? So there's still some free agent tight ends that I wouldn't be surprised to see them bring into camp and maybe get a look at and things like that. And then of course, once roster cuts happen, what are some other opportunities in terms of other players that do become available later?
This is true.
So there are going to be those players that are going to be out there, but the tight end room, I think, is one that they still need to figure out. Is Trevor Penning going to be ready? I think if he is, then he'll be starting at left tackle, and then your offense is immediately better than it was going into the season. And honestly, I think to an extent, this 2022 roster as a whole is better than the 2021 roster if you consider what the Saints didn't have last season. No Michael Thomas. They barely had their tight ends throughout the season. Nick Vanette didn't start half the season. Adam Troutman missed the back half of the season, basically.
That's when he's getting going, bro.
Right. Yeah, exactly. He had that great game against Tampa Bay.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden he ended up getting hurt.
Yeah.
And then you had 4 starting quarterbacks throughout the season where you were playing games with Trevor Siemian, and you had that one game with Ian Book, which poor guy, 20 plus starters were out during that game. And we like to use that as evaluation around Ian Book, which is just kind of unfair. And so I think that inarguably a team that starts 58 starters throughout the season, an NFL record, is a team that is worse than this roster going into 2022. And I think a lot of it starts with the clarity at the quarterback spot. Right. Last season, we had the quarterback battle the entire year, and then you never really felt like that was fully really resolved, even though Jameis Winston clearly was the starter. There was still so much Taysom Hill involved because that was Sean Payton's offense. Like Sean Payton's offense at that time incorporated Taysom Hill at quarterback. So the clarity was kind of weird. And then so now you don't have to deal with any of that. It's very clear. You know, the old adage, right? If you have got 2 starting quarterbacks, you have no starting quarterback. Now that's not the case. There's no competition between Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, right? It's Jameis Winston's team going in, which I think is a great thing for them going into 2022.
Well, you're absolutely right, bro. I agree 100% with you on that. I mean, it's Jameis's team. He eviscerated Taysom, in my estimation, last year in whatever QB competition that they had. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't really much. I mean, I see what Coach Payton was doing. He was allowing Taysom to have extra reps during the preseason, but it was no competition at all. I mean, he destroyed poor Taysom. But
that Jacksonville Jaguars game at that point, it was so hard to argue after that. Yeah. It was like, all right, we're done here. Case is closed. Like we're finished.
It's over. It's over,
ladies and gentlemen.
Right. This is a Mike Tyson Spinks fight right here. It's done. It's over with 2 minutes, man. People want their money back.
Right.
But I mean, it's just. But going into it, and I agree, bro. I think if he had not gotten injured last year, Jameis Winston was on par to have his best year. I mean, he was well ahead. The injury occurred, but I mean, watching him, he's ahead of schedule. All of the positive stuff that he's doing all field. This is his team coming into it. We've given him the weapons. Elvin Kamara, hopefully, we know we expecting Elvin to miss some games right here, Ross.
Right.
We don't exactly know. A lot of people think, and I agree with them in this estimation. They think he's going to settle. I don't know what the defense could be looking at here, but they're thinking that he might settle with the guy, and I mean, he got him cold turkey, he got him dead to right. I mean,
You got a video of the dude. Like,
right?
what are you gonna do, right?
Right, what you gonna do, bro? You stumping on the man. Oh, y'all, the guy never threw a punch at you, so I mean, you got to settle with the man, get over it. But I know Goodell doesn't like us, so we ultimately gonna get some time. I mean, he gonna get some games. But in that vein, bro, if that occurs, you mentioned Sony Michelle. We talked about that. I think that's a point of emphasis that we might have to look at, because a lot of people not sure about Mark Ingram, bro, and Tony Jones Jr. I like Tony Jones, but they keep saying that he's unproven. To a degree, that's true. But running back room, you mentioned tight end room, is something that we have to look at. And I can notice that you're not really going in on Taysom, thinking that he could be their number one tight end, perhaps.
I don't think so. I mean, usually when you have like an F move tight end like him, he's inherently not your number one guy. Like your number one guy is usually a true Y, a guy that can line up and be a blocker for you, effectively operate as an additional offensive lineman, but that you can also split out. But you're not really using him. Like Josh Hill was never tight end one, right? It was always Jared Cook or
they tried, bro, but he just
it wasn't his role.
Work.
Like his role was the ability to be able to move him and use him out of the backfield, and then use him out wide and take a linebacker out of the box so that you'd be able to run, and like all these other things. So it's like
that's an interesting comp, Ross.
Yeah.
Taysom Hill, Josh Hill role. Is that what you see?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to be used a little bit more in the passing game, just based upon his route running ability and where that is compared to Josh Hill. Like he'll be able to attack multiple pieces of the field as opposed to just the seam and all that. But in terms of like his general usage and the way that he's going to be used, it's probably going to be a little bit more Josh Hill like, which is what we've seen in the past, right? They'll line him up in the backfield, let him be a lead blocker. They'll move him, they'll put him in at true Y, but then motion him to get him sort of on some split action, blocking off the back end on an unblocked defender or something like that, and then splitting him out wide to take linebackers out of the box to make the box a little bit lighter for Alvin Kamara, so on and so forth. Like there's so much strategy to the utilization of an F move tight end as opposed to a true Y that's basically going to line up in line and then maybe in the slot. You know what I mean? That's kind of what you're going to do with him. So I think that's probably a little bit more where he's going to be utilized, where he's going to be more like a second or third tight end that's still going to see the field a bunch. Like expect to see Taysom Hill out on the field, but this now gives you the opportunity, if you're Dennis Allen, to have your 11 best players on the field at any given time. Because you can get Taysom and Jameis out on the field at the same time as opposed to one or the other.
Absolutely. And Taysom's ability, man. Two tight end lineups, Ross, that's a thing the Saints like to use, even three at times when you get close to the goal line. So you're absolutely right. Tight end, having him there, he creates major mismatches there for linebackers, and defensive backs simply don't want to tackle a guy, Ross.
Yeah,
you start hopping up like a bunny rabbit.
Right. Right. And you can get super creative with them. Like I'm not going to be surprised to see like a tight end end around next year or a tight end jet sweep, like those types of things where you can do that to get him in space, locomotion, right? Get him operating like the freight train that he is, so he can initiate contact without having to worry about him costing you your starting quarterback. It just frees him up to play the game the way that A, he wants to play the game, and B, it gives them an opportunity to utilize really his full skill set.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to agree. It's going to be really fun watching the Dennis Allen or Pete Carmichael version of Sean Payton's offense. It's going to be fun watching this, because a lot of people, we're looking at the defense, and rightfully so. But the offense, I have to agree with you, Ross. I don't see them being 32nd in terms of scoring points. I mean, with all the weapons the Saints have, man, you can only, and we still not done that. And that's the fantastic and fun part about this whole thing. We can still add some more talent. We will add some more talent, especially offensively, before the training camp starts. But Ross, listen, last thoughts, my friend. I know you got another meeting, bro. Last thoughts before we end the stream, bro, on the Saints.
Look, I think that this is a New Orleans Saints team that has gotten better going from 2021 to 2022, and they're now in a conference in the NFC that's gotten worse going from 2021 to 2022. And I think you can see that with the quarterback exodus that took place this offseason. You're watching players like Devontae Adams change teams from NFC teams to AFC teams. Like you're seeing a lot of that, saw a lot of that over the course of the offseason. The AFC West and its load of Russell Wilson going to the AFC West, so on and so forth. So I think when you look at this conference as a whole, the NFC, it's gotten weaker and it's become a little bit more open. I had somebody tell me that without Sean Payton and without Drew Brees, the New Orleans Saints are not going to be able to contend with the big dogs in the NFC. Listen to Tampa Bay Buccaneers as one of those teams. And I just want to remind everybody that last year, the Saints, not only without Drew Brees and without Sean Payton, but also without Jameis Winston, beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Well, They beat him
Blanked
twice, but
Yeah.
without Sean Payton, they beat him and blanked him, like you just said, in Tampa. So I don't buy into the idea that without Sean Payton, that the Saints can't beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers
We've been
because
handling
they've
this,
done
Ross.
it.
Yes, come on. What's up with these guys?
Because
Why are
they've
they
done
put
it.
that? Why are they doing that, Ross? Why are they putting Tampa Bay as the top? It's TB12 love. That
It's
he can do
TB12 love,
anything. That's
and
what it is.
it's TB12 love, and there's the immediate impact of those two teams and how they impact each other within the division, right? So you're going to highlight Tampa Bay as a division opponent more before you're going to highlight, let's say, the Green Bay Packers, who they don't see during the regular season, right? But then they might have to see in the playoffs, except for Green Bay can't make it past certain points of the playoffs themselves, and so they always end up not being in the conversation when you expect them to be in the conversation.
And by the way, we eviscerated Green Bay in week 1 on a neutral site.
That also happened. So I think that when you look at where the New Orleans Saints are versus the plus minus that they've had, which is, I think, enormously plus going into 2022 versus the plus minus that we've seen of the NFC, which has been a bit of a drop off. I think a pretty considerable drop off. I think that the Saints are absolute contenders to at least get into the playoffs this season, whether it's a wild card spot, whether it's actually competing for the division, depending upon what happens with Tampa, right? You have the world's biggest, the NFL's biggest X factor is always going to be injuries. I think that a key staff addition this offseason was bringing in Coach Rhea, from Alabama as their director of sports sciences, who reduced soft tissue injuries at Alabama by 50%.
Ross, that's huge. That's big something, bro. Yeah.
And when you look at what the Saints went through last year, 58 different starters, that's exactly what leads you to making a choice like furthering what it is that you're doing from a sports science perspective. And I think Matt Rhea ends up having a huge impact there. So I think the Saints have done the things they need to do in order to be able to have good developers on their coaching staff, Cody Burns, Doug Marrone, all these guys that they brought in, Bill Bicknell. And then you have the rest of the staff in terms of your strength and conditioning staff and the work that they've done there. And then now personnel wise to be able to be a team that competes within the NFC.
Absolutely. They looked up and down, bro, and dealt with all of the injuries. And the Saints went into this season knowing that we had to get the depth, we had to fix the staff, we had to upgrade. And my goodness, the Saints, they handling it every possible way. My goodness. After Sean Payton stepped away, my friend, the Saints handled business. But anyway, that's going to be enough, man. Ross, much love to you, my friend. Thank you for jumping on the Coma. I appreciate you, bro. Could you tell the people, bro, where they can reach you at in the platforms, bro?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yo, hey, thank you so much for having me. Absolute pleasure to be here with you, Q. Easy way to find me always is going to be on Twitter at Ross Jackson Nola, Nola. I live there. Everything that I do is there. It's on Twitter. I'm always talking stuff. So come through, have fun. You can find the Locked On Saints podcast wherever you get podcasts, as well as on YouTube, of course, free and available on all platforms. New episodes every Monday through Friday. And then, of course, you can find all the written work over at saintswire.usatoday.com, along with all my great collaborators over at USA Today's network, including Saints Wire.
Ross does it all, bro. He talks Saints, writes Saints, bro, and he does it all. So, bro, we appreciate you, bro. Thank you, Hoodie. He says, with Q at QB, or heck, Ross Jackson at QB, we can go 9-8 because our defense is lead. But with Hoodie Jube at QB, we would go 16-1. Okay.
That's what we're going to do, because I promise you, if you put me at quarterback, you're going 0-17, baby. I'm leading you to next year's #1 selection. Let's go, CJ Stroud. Come through. That's what I'm leading you to.
Ross, thank you, bro. Appreciate you, bro. Hey, bro, anytime, Ross, you free, my brother. I know it's a busy time for you right now with everything you do, but feel free at any given time to come on and step by, bro, and talk some Saints with us. We love you over here, man. We appreciate your contribution. And the Great Saint Think Tank loves you. We appreciate you, bro. And anytime you can come on back and kick it with us, bro. Anytime.
I appreciate that, homie. And anytime you hit me up, let me know when you if you need me back, you want me back, anything as well. And I'll be sure to come through as well. I appreciate you, homie. Thank you.
That's the man right there, brother Ross. Thank you, Ross. Who that to you, and we'll see you later, my brother. Appreciate you.
Back at you, homie. Thank you, bro.
Thank you. That's brother Ross, man. Appreciate the brother for chiming in, Ross Jackson. From Locked In on Saints, a lot of positive stuff the brother do, man. And we covered a lot of Ross's articles here, man. But when you're talking down hard, true black and gold people, man, Ross is born and raised in the city, born and raised black and gold, man. And, I'm one. So another down hard black and gold man talking to another about the Saints, man. And it was fun. All right. So with that being said, fam, I'd like to thank all y'all for chiming in on this one. I won't hold y'all for too long. I will return. I'll be back tomorrow on Patreon. Patreon Tuesday, we'll go TSC Q&A live. We'll cover that tomorrow. Also, we're gonna start firing up the TSC Unleashed shows as well. We'll matter of fact roll out one tomorrow as well for our Patreon family members. So if you want to be a part of the Patreon, and I got YouTube members as well, and I thank everybody for what you're doing on the channel, for supporting the channel, sharing the links, everything, checking out the pro shops and the pale shops that we have in the link section below. I thank all you guys, man, as we continue to keep rolling out some of the smartest, the best and brightest of the Who Dat Nation, man, and bringing them in the building. So with that being said, I appreciate all y'all for what y'all doing. Y'all hit the like button, family. If y'all hadn't already hit the hell out the like button, and feel free to join the show by subscription. Hit the subscribe button. And a really big thing is feel free to share the show's links on your social media feed, because man, that helps us out a lot. So with that being said, fam, y'all stay blessed. I'm gonna holler at y'all later on Tuesday. Big ups to our Patreon champions and our YouTube membership family. We'll be on there tomorrow and we'll talk it up. Much love to y'all, and I'm out. Who Dat?
Yeah. Well, all right. Like you always say, welcome, welcome, welcome. #1 sports talking D. We ain't like the Falcons, we won't blow the lead. Look, all we talk is who that, who got cut and who back. Rookies and the vets, players you should look at. It's the sports coma, you don't wanna miss it. Got the pre-game, party, post-game statistics. Get a visit from Sway, maybe DC or 5. It's the hottest thing smoking, Big Q and the guys. Go to YouTube Live, make sure you subscribe. Interviews inside the Saints locker room high. Talk to Drew, Jordan, Zach, Peyton, New Orleans, Who Dat Nation. Best believe when I say we bleed gold and black. Ain't a miracle or rivalry could ever hold us back. No, Beastquake, Bounty Gate, let the truth be told. It's the sports coma, all we know is say Super Bowl. Yeah.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Who that say they gon' beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that say they gon' beat them Saints? Who that?
Thank you for making Saint Central your black and gold home for the New Orleans Saints.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, even the top flight boxing news. So if you're a Who Dat and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who Dat in all of us. Check out the Pro Shop. That's right, the Pro Shop is the platform store where you can go and buy all the latest merch to support the platform. Available at the Pro Shops, we have dozens of hundreds of products available for you and your family. Unisex tees for men and women, hoodies and sweatshirts, tank tops, kids and baby items, long sleeve tees, mugs, pillows, wall art, bath bedding, face masks, phone cases, stickers, bags, fanny packs, socks, hats, and many other items. Please feel free to check out the Pro Shops. The link is in the description section below. And remember, it helps the platform